This incident happened a year ago, but feels like yesterday. I worked part-time at a grocery store while attending community college. The store was in a suburban town where crime was practically non-existent, so none of us employees ever felt unsafe there, even working nights. But I guess evil can show up anywhere, if given the chance. It was 11 p.m., and I was working the register up front. Only a handful of customers remained browsing the aisles. I stifled a yawn, gazing absently at the displays of gum and candy bars, looking forward to getting home soon to crash in my bed. That's when I first saw him enter the store, a tall man wearing a dark hooded sweatshirt with the hood pulled up over his face. I couldn't make out his features at all, except for his eyes. I could feel them staring at me through the shadows obscuring his face. There was an intensity to that gaze that immediately put me on edge. He walked with purpose straight towards the back corner of the store, disappearing from view. I tried to shrug it off and told myself he was just some weirdo, but I couldn't ignore the nagging gut feeling that something was very wrong about him. Those hidden eyes that seemed to burn right through me. I was distracted from my unease when Mrs. Green, a kindly old regular, came up to my register with her usual carton of milk and Slim Jims. As I was ringing her up, she gave me a playful nudge. "Back to the books tomorrow, eh?" I smiled politely, making small talk as I handed her the receipt. But my attention kept wandering to the back of the store, wondering about the hooded man. Where did he go? Why hadn't I seen him come back up any of the aisles yet? After Mrs. Green left, the store became eerily quiet. I didn't see any other customers walking around. Where was that man? My pulse began to quicken as the silence stretched on. I considered calling out to him to see if he needed any help, but thought better of it. Every instinct told me I did not want him to know I was here alone. That's when all the lights in the store abruptly shut off, plunging everything into total darkness. I froze, unable to believe this was happening. Then the ear-splitting screech of the security alarm system activating shattered the stillness. Someone had opened the back door emergency exit. But who? None of this made any sense. Almost immediately, I heard quick, heavy footsteps approaching from the back of the store, coming straight towards me. I wanted to run or hide, but fear paralyzed every muscle. All I could do was stand there hyperventilating as those unseen footsteps grew louder and closer in the dark. Then a figure emerged right in front of me, the hooded man, in the dim red glow of the exit sign over his head. I could see something long and metallic glinting in his hand. A knife. He leaned over the counter until his face was just inches from mine. I could smell his putrid breath as he hissed, "Where's the cash?" My voice failed me. I just stood shaking my head, tears streaming down my cheeks. The man slammed his fist down hard on the counter, making me jump. "The cash now, or else." His words were clipped, guttural. He sounded almost inhuman. I shakily opened my register, hands fumbling in the dark to grab the crumpled bills inside. Anything to get this psycho away from me. But as I blindly grasped for the money, my fingers wrapped around something else. The heavy metal flashlight I kept under the counter. Without thinking, I seized it and swung it with all my strength against the side of the man's head. He screamed in pain and rage, staggering backwards. I didn't wait for him to recover. Clutching the flashlight, I ran to take cover behind a shelf of canned goods, listening to his frenzied movements. He was looking for me now. I held my breath, praying the police were close. We were completely alone in this darkness together. Then I heard the shattering of glass as he smashed open the front doors and fled into the night. Relief flooded through me, my legs giving out as I sank to the floor. I was safe now. He was gone. But the memory still haunts me. The sight of his shadowy form leaning over me, those malicious eyes. It's an image I can never erase from my mind. An encounter with true evil. The kind that lurks closer than you think, just waiting for darkness to fall. I'm not sure how much time passed before the police arrived. When I finally stepped outside, I was blinded by the flashing blue and red lights cutting through the dark parking lot. It was all over. As I recounted to the officers what had happened, I glanced back at the store one last time. I will never forget that night, and I hope none of you ever experience the terror I felt staring into the abyss. Keep the lights burning bright, my friends. Darkness is its domain. It was 1:15 midnight when I pulled into the dirt parking lot of the old abandoned Benson sawmill. I had spent the entire evening at my buddy Ron's house playing Call of Duty and gorging on frozen pizzas, and was now heading home after an intense gaming marathon. This sawmill was a shortcut I often took to shave a good 15 minutes off the drive back to my crummy studio apartment downtown. The main road had so many useless stoplights and crosswalks that driving it at this hour was a slow, tedious chore I preferred to avoid. Tonight, however, something felt off from the moment I stepped out of my '87 Camaro. An unnatural silence hung heavy in the air, like the whole world was holding its breath. The hulking structure of the sawmill loomed overhead, its shattered windows and missing boards resembling dark, gaping eyes staring down at me. A cold autumn wind stirred up dust and dead leaves that whispered eerily across the cracked pavement of the parking lot. I shoved my hands in the pockets of my leather jacket and kept my head down as I started walking, my steel-toed boots crunching on gravel with each step. The sawmill always gave me the creeps at night, the way it looked like some rotten giant ready to collapse at any moment. But for some reason, tonight felt even more ominous than usual, like something sinister was lurking just out of sight within its crumbling wooden walls. The fine hairs on the back of my neck prickled with apprehension. I was about halfway to the other side of the sawmill. I paused. I could have sworn I heard furtive footsteps behind me, the scuffing tread of someone trying unsuccessfully to move with stealth. Yet when I glanced back over my shoulder, there was nothing but empty darkness. "You're losing it, man, letting this place get to you," I muttered under my breath. I quickened my pace, shivering against the deepening chill that had settled into my bones. All I wanted was to get back to the safety of my car. Then a loud crash echoed from inside the sawmill, the powerful reverberating bang of heavy metal beams toppling over. I froze in my tracks, my heart skipping a beat. Someone or something was in there with me, watching from the shadows, a menacing presence I could feel in my gut. I started backing up slowly, ready to bolt to my car. Another tremendous crash rang out. Closer this time, I broke into a sprint, my boots pounding the gravel, but only made it about 10 feet before a dark figure stepped out from the inky shadows up ahead. I couldn't make out any discernible facial features, only a vague humanoid shape draped in a flowing black cloak that obscured even its hands and feet. A sinister presence surrounded the being, a palpable dark energy that radiated malice. Then I heard it, a chilling whisper in a strange, guttural language I could not recognize. Foul, unholy words that resonated with primordial dread. My legs went weak and numb, paralyzed by terror. The dark figure raised its arm, a long bony finger pointing at me, accusingly as it glided closer. Ancient instinct screamed at me to run, but my muscles refused to obey. Summoning my last bit of strength, I somehow wrenched myself around and fled back the way I'd come, my breath coming out in panicked gasps. The whispering erupted into a blood-curdling shriek as I ran for my life, an inhuman cry of rage and hunger that shook me to my core. I didn't dare look back. At last I reached my car, fumbling desperately to unlock it with trembling hands. I jumped inside, slamming and locking the doors. The engine roared to life and I peeled out of there, breathing heavy sighs of relief as I sped away from that accursed place. As the sawmill shrank away in my rearview mirror, I knew one thing for certain: I would never take that shortcut again. Not even in the full light of day. There are forces beyond our understanding in this world. Forces not of God, but of an ancient nameless evil. My brush with the darkness that night will haunt me forever. So I warn you, be wary when you are alone at night. True terror lurks in the shadows, existing at the periphery of our sane, ordered world. It waits for such moments to breach the fragile boundaries that protect ordinary men, waiting for its chance to strike. I was lucky to escape with my life and soul intact. Others may not be so fortunate. There are more dimensions to reality than our minds can comprehend, and some doors are better left unopened.